Ryssland har ju rakt avfärdat det här och sagt att ICC inte har någon jurisdiktion eller någon rätt över Ryssland. På kort sikt så stämmer det ju att vi knappast ska förvänta oss att se Putin inför någon sorts rätt, därför att Ryssland är inte ett undertecknande eller inte ett deltagande land i det här. ICC brukar normalt sett inte ha rättegångar från oss frånvaro, och de har heller ingen polis som kan komma och gripa eller kidnappa Putin från Ryssland, utan på så sätt så är det i alla fall på kort sikt mest en symbolisk sak. Men det är också en stor symbolisk sak och ett viktigt steg. För det första så signalerar att Putin inte är som vilken världsledare som helst, utan bär ansvar för de hemska saker som ryska styrkor gör i Ukraina, och även som görs då mot barn i det här fallet som flyttas från ockuperade Ukraina till Ryssland. Men det är ju också så att i en framtid där Putin inte längre styr Ryssland så kan ju läget bli ett helt annat.
Alltså att man nu samtidigt utför en arresteringsorder för Maria Belova, varför är det så viktigt?
Det är viktigt därför att hon är barnrättskommissionären i Ryssland, men i praktiken så har hon under det här kriget blivit en sorts galjonsfigur för det här kidnappandet eller bortrövandet av ukrainska barn till Ryssland.
This thing with the ICC that you pointed out, the Russians have found children in the war zone without parents, without family, alone. Yes, they've identified these children. They've moved them to where they could be cared for medically, and they're holding them until their parents can be found, which is a pretty damn difficult task in the middle of a war, as you know. But the notion that the Russians were deliberately corralling children and moving them to some sinister camp in Russia is a lot of nonsense. This is all crap. And what it demonstrates is that all the institutions in the West are essentially tools for the globalists. They no longer represent justice for all. They are basically simply puppet organizations that parrot whatever the globalist regimes that run the West want them to say and do. And this is very unhealthy. I can't imagine this ending well in Europe. It's not going to end well here in the United States. Again, we need someone to intervene and say, look, this is taking us nowhere. But instead, you talked about the ICC thing. We just had an incident where a couple of B-52s apparently were on exercise in the Baltic. And I'm told that the exercise involved simulating the launch of cruise missiles in the direction of Russia. This is stupid. Just as the MQ-29 that was either shot down or disabled and fell into the Black Sea was trying to gather targeting data from Crimea. Again, what did you expect to happen? What would we do if the Russians did something similar off the coast of Virginia near Norfolk, where we have one of the largest concentrations of American naval power, or San Diego, or Puget Sound, any number of places where we have huge concentrations of naval power? We would have acted in precisely the same way. But this simply is like throwing gasoline on the fire that you should be interested in putting out. What about the future of Ukraine? Nobody seems to give a damn, as far as I can tell, in the West about that. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I certainly don't see much concern for it here. It's this silly notion, well, we're winning because we're harming Russia. Well, I don't see the harm coming to Russia. I mean, certainly every war harms everyone who goes into it at some point. But right now, Ukraine is largely destroyed. So I wish I had some good news, but no, I don't think it can succeed at this stage. And my great worry is that once the Russians close in on the Dnieper River, and if we do not talk to them, they make the decision to cross the river, then we will be stupid. And we on the ground with the Poles and perhaps some others in the so-called coalition of the willing will try to intervene in Western Ukraine. There are foolish people who think that we can establish a new east-west border along the Dnieper River on the model of East and West Germany, for those in the audience that can remember that. And that's not something that I think Europeans should want. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's counterproductive, and we don't need to go down that road. And if we do, it will harm Europe irreparably. I think it's very important for the European leadership to take this in hand, because if they do not, I don't see much readiness at the top of the Biden administration to step forward and say, look, we miscalculated. We did not believe that Russia would come roaring back to life in the way that it has. We thought Russia was weak. We thought Russia could be bullied. We were wrong. You're not going to hear anybody in Washington admit that. And the other thing is the Europeans have to be forthright and honest. Are we going to see hundreds of thousands of Italians, Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Lithuanians, Latvians, Estonians, Norwegians, Danes, Dutchmen, Germans, all line up being outfitted and equipped to fight a high-end conventional war in Ukraine against Russia? Is that going to happen? Is there an appetite for that? Is that what these governments want to do?